Looking at today's games, it's hard to wonder how our technology has evolved. Today, games look amazing and each one is unique with their own style. With my crude drawings at hand, I'll show you how video games have come to be so innovative and the milestones that got them there. It all began in the 1960s with Pong, an original program meant for military purposes which had become a staple in every arcade by the 1970s. It had simple pixel graphics, which was a complete innovation at the time. This began a new era in gaming. Nintendo would be one of the first to introduce the next age of gaming in the 1990s. It introduced new colors and a new engine that would drive the industry forward. Games like Super Mario Bros., Final Fantasy III, and The Legend of Zelda would show the highlights in this two-dimensional era. But quite soon in 1992, the first pseudo 3D game was born. Wolfenstein 3D was a new 2.5D first-person shooter that used 16-bit graphics to generate a depth of field. Numerous 2.5D games including Doom and Duke Nukem followed, and another genre was born. Another year would go by before a real 3D game would finally come. Sega's action fighter, Virtua Fighter, would be the first in using 3D models. It wasn't the best game, but it had pushed the generation's consoles to their limit. Nintendo release of the Nintendo 64 gave developers a platform for more 3D games. In 1997, Final Fantasy introduced the best of both worlds, with more advanced 3D modeling as well as phenomenal gameplay. It set the bar for games to have both graphics and substance. Many games would follow the Final Fantasy path with gameplay and graphics, such as Nintendo's Super Mario 64, Super Smash Bros., and GoldenEye 007. With all these new 3D platformers and shooters, what would be the next logical step for gaming graphics? In 2001, Bungie released Halo, a title that would reintroduce the old formula with next-gen graphics. Many console and PC games in the following years would further increase the graphics formula. Games like Splinter Cell, Call of Duty, Half-Life 2, and the former's successor, Halo 2. The gaming industry finally hit its peak in quality visuals in 2007 with the release of Crysis. Its style included bump mapping textures, which is a clever technique that adds fine detail in games. This game still is used as a benchmark for comparing modern-day visuals. Crysis was further followed by Call of Duty 4, another visual abusive game, Mass Effect 2, and a plethora of other great-looking games. However, in 2010, a big shift in the gaming industry occurred. Not only were the graphics reverting into the early 21st century, but there was also a big effort to create more gameplay dynamic games. As a result, a spur of indie games started releasing, or independent developers that create games without publishers. These games include Super Meat Boy, Terraria, Fez, Dungeons of Dreadmore, Limbo, and many more. These new games did not offer next-gen graphics, but it more than made up for them with the gameplay it introduced. The games that led the current generation to this change would be none other than Minecraft. Its simple multiplayer mechanics, easy to control gameplay, and old-school graphics really showed everyone what a game really was. It didn't matter that it had blocky textures or 90s visuals. It more than made up for it with fun, intuitive gameplay, which basically defines all the games we play as of currently. And although with current technology we can have hyper-realistic details, does it really matter as long as we have fun with the game?